Hey, Alex, how you doing today?
Hey, what's up, Kelly?
Well, I have another dead end. So now, what is a dead end on Dirtnap City?
These are things that aren't people that aren't around anymore. So they're interesting dead things, I guess.
Traditions, technology, businesses, sayings, right? Any of the above.
Buildings,
Buildings. Yeah. Last time, what did we talk about?
photomat. It's a building.
Yes. And Alex told me something that blew my mind, and this is one of many things. So go listen to the episode. But he told me that the photomat buildings still exist. A lot of them do, and now they're like coffee shops.
Yeah, kiosks. You can't go inside.
Well, unless you work there.
They won't let you inside.
Yeah, yeah. You can't really walk up and because I mean, there's not a lot of room in those things, right? They were pretty tiny.
Pretty tiny.
But if you see a like a snow cone or a cotton candy or a coffee or ice cream kiosk in the middle of a parking lot, odds are pretty good it might have been a photo. It might have been a photomat at one point.
Now, do you know photomat spelled with an F? I never cleared that up last week, but photomat is spelled with an F.
You know, that actually makes more sense in PH, honestly.
I think it was spelled with an F, yeah.
Yeah. I think you're right. Well, this week I have something that's another dead end, but it's a dead end that actually came from other dead ends. It was sort of like a dead end that had a little cut through, and then there was another dead end, and then another cut through, and then this ended up as a dead end too. So, do you remember back in the day? I think we talked about this on the music episode. You had records, right?
Love my records, and I love my record player.
Yeah, it had a sound to it. And then, of course, today everything is streaming. But there was a middle ground. You also had floppy disks, right?
I did. Both sizes.
Yeah. Well,
was it five and a half?
I think it's a 3.5 and a 5.
Yeah. The first ones were the big ones, the verbatims.
I believe the funny thing about the 5-inch floppy the funny thing about the 3.5-inch floppy actually is that it wasn't actually floppy. It was encased in plastic, whereas the 5-inch verbatim floppy disks were actually floppy. You could bend them, right? They were in paper.
The other funny part about floppy disks is even though they haven't been around and nobody who was born after 1990s probably ever seen one, they still are the icon for when you want to save something. It's a picture of a floppy disk, right? Right?
That's right. It's like the picture of an old telephone, as the telephone icon.
Yeah.
Well, as I said, in between records and streaming, in between floppy disks and cloud storage, we had these things called CDs and CD-ROMs. Now, I think everybody probably knows that CD stands for compact disc. But do you know what the ROM part of CD-ROM stood for? That was a computer one.
Read-only memory.
Yeah, because you could only, unlike a floppy disk, which you could write to, you could only read data. The data got put onto it in the factory, in the replication center, and it was interesting. It was a little piece of 1.2 millimeter thick polycarbonate, and it had these little things called pits in it, and those pits were actually written and read by a laser. Now, they were almost like, a record, actually a groove of a record has little bumps that the needle moves. They were almost like that for light.
Laser.
Yeah, laser light would read them and write them. Now, it was a huge, huge, huge improvement over records in that they could get scratched, but it was a lot harder to get them scratched. They also had a little bit less noise, like a sound to noise ratio. But the big thing, Alex, about why CDs took over for records in the music industry was they could hold a lot more music. Now, you remember a standard record, 12-inch 33 RPM vinyl, had a playtime of 22 minutes per side. And you know what a CD was?
Was it like an hour and a half?
74 minutes. So yes. Minutes. Yeah. Now an hour and 14 minutes. So, I mean, more than double the total side, and you didn't have to flip it over. You could also switch between songs very easily. You could put it on
Oh
shuffle.
man, let
Remember
me
the
tell you.
shuffle? Did you ever have a CD player with a
Do
shuffle
I remember
feature?
the shuffle? I insist on shuffle. In fact, even today when I'm listening to playlists, I insist. I don't tell me what order these songs need to be in. I want to play them. I love randomness in life. I love the idea of just it could be anything. It could be any one of these 8 songs.
Right, right. Any one of these 74 minutes of music. And and what was kind of more interesting about that was the CD players that had a 5 disc changer. Or there were even some I think that had like a 10 disc magazine. Did you ever have one of those?
Well, not only that, but later in probably at the end of CDs, didn't have anywhere to store these things. So I just got a 100 disc changer, and that's where I stored all my CDs in the 100
And
disc
did you just
changer.
run it on shuffle all the
Of
time?
course. Of course.
So so you could have big band playing and then Two Live Crew and then Rush. I mean, what
I
was in your
guarantee I guarantee all 3 of those things are in the I think they're still in the 100 disc shuffler because I don't need any either one of those things anymore, the CDs or the shuffler. But my wife doesn't throw anything away. So I'm
so
sure
you
I
still
have a
have a
100.
100 disc shuffler somewhere around?
I think the 100 disc shuffler is probably 15 feet away from me right now.
Okay. You should break that thing out over the holidays and just put it on shuffle and just, talk about memory lane, right?
Sure, sure. Or I could just not do that and just do a stream these things.
Yeah, yeah, but there is something about that mechanical noise when it would change the disc. Like I only had a 5 disc tray. It was a rotational tray that would move them from disc to disc. You remember that noise? There's that little bit
Oh,
of pause.
very mechanical noise. And I also remember the idea of wondering how random it actually is. Like, really,
Right.
I'm getting 3 Peter Gabriel songs in a row. What are those odds? It turns out that randomness doesn't mean that you're going to get one from each CD before your next one. Randomness truly means that sometimes you can get a run of 3 or 4.
Yeah, yeah. It's like if you flip a coin 50 times, it's not going to be 25 and 25,
That's right. That's right.
It might be, but it might not be. Actually, funny story about the randomness is I had a roommate in college and after college, and we had a 5 disc changer, and there was always a Johnny Cash CD in there. It was mine, and it would. I would sometimes go over, and there was the ability to shuffle between all 5 discs, and then there was the ability to shuffle just on one disc.
Mm.
And when he wasn't looking, it'd be on all 5. So we'd hear some Bob Marley, we'd hear some Two Live Crew, we'd hear some uh, Tears for Fears, and then Johnny Cash would come on, and then it would just play a whole bunch of Johnny Cash songs in a row. And my roommate thought that the disc shuffler was haunted or something. He
Yes.
was like,
Yes. See,
"Why does that?"
people
But he
always
didn't
think
know. I
that.
was going over there and pushing that button that changed it from like only play this disc, but it was still shuffling between. It wasn't the order of the disc, but that was always kind of fun. The compact disc was released in 1982, and it was co-developed by Philips and Sony. And it was again originally designed to just do sound, all that kind of thing. And then it became the CD-ROM, as we talked about. Now, a CD-ROM could hold 680 megabytes of storage, as opposed to 1.4 on a floppy disk. I mean, think about that. That is a lot more than 1.4.
I go to a lot of sporting events, as you've established earlier. And one of my favorite giveaways ever was at a Houston Astros baseball game. They gave away a CD-ROM of the baseball encyclopedia, which is this I don't know 3,000 page book that has every single player that's ever played the game. And I remember
Wow.
they just gave this away, and I just thought this is like
Wait, to every fan that came in?
yeah.
Oh, it wasn't like a big prize. It was a door prize. If you show up, it was kind of like one of those fans that you get to fan yourself, but it
Yeah,
was a
or
CD.
usually it's a T-shirt or a bobblehead or something. But I loved that because I frequently would buy those baseball encyclopedias just to keep them more up to date. And this was just something I could slip into my computer and look up any player that ever played. It was my favorite giveaway ever.
Did you ever put it in your 100-disc changer to see what would happen?
This was a, it was a, no, it was just a legit CD-ROM, right? Yeah.
It wouldn't just automatically start spewing out baseball stats during the break,
No.
in between Johnny Cash songs. Well, then if you liked that giveaway, I got to ask you: Do you remember the time? And all our listeners, if you're over the age of 40, you'll probably remember this: free CDs that would come in the mail from
AOL.
Yes.
You've got mail.
Oh, they would mail those out to so many people. I mean, there must just be so much landfill of CDs of AOL. But I think those have actually become worth some money, haven't they? If you still have an original one?
Yeah, especially the original ones. And they would give you a certain number of hours for free. Remember, back in the early days of the internet, you would pay by the hour. So you could get like 250 hours of free internet surfing, which was a lot because there wasn't a lot to surf back then.
Right, but everything loaded so slowly that you might see three pictures and there was no video, right? It was just like text and pictures, and so that would take forever.
Once I got through cresttoothpaste.com, I was out of ideas.
So speaking of like lots and lots of these in the landfill, do you know the most purchased CD of all time?
Music CD?
Yeah.
Is this a music? Is this music?
It's an easy one.
Is it The Dark Side of the Moon?
No, most purchased. Most people liked it.
I'm just saying that because that's one of the biggest selling albums of all time. Just it's been on the charts for like 50 years.
Okay, think of the 80s and when CDs were really popular.
Thriller?
Yes. Thriller by Michael Jackson was the most purchased CD of all time. And because of that, I'm going to close out this dead end episode of Dirt Nap City with a poem. And at the end, I want you to tell me if you think I wrote this or AI wrote it. So you ready? This is called Ode to the CD-ROM. In a plasticky shell, a rainbow disc, a silent symphony, a data kiss, CD-ROM, a relic of the 90s bold, whispers of knowledge, stories untold. Once a marvel, a futuristic gleam, holding gigabytes of digitized dreams, software suites, encyclopedias grand, games that pixeled worlds in your hand. Modem screech, a dial-up prayer, downloading treasures, byte by byte rare, cracking the case, a ritual of yore, anticipation's hum, hunger for more. Spur, spin, and whir, a laser's keen eye, unraveling secrets, painted in the sky. Music on loop, pixelated delight, dancing fingers bathed in cathode ray light. Now a whisper in dusty stacks they hide, replaced by giants with silicon stride. But nostalgia whispers, a melody sweet, of simpler times at our fingertips meet. So raise a disc, a toast to the past, where data waltzed and memories amassed. CD-ROM, a chapter forever enshrined in the digital saga of the human mind.
I hope you wrote that, but I don't think you did.
Thanks, Bard. Yeah, it was Bard. Bard's the Google equivalent of ChatGPT.
Yeah, nicely done. They used pixeled as a verb and pixelated.
Yeah. Pixelated delight.
My favorite part was raise a disc.
Now raise a disc. Well, that's the CD and CD-ROM. If you ever owned a CD or a CD-ROM, feel free to reach out to us. How do they reach us, Alex?
Not, and then the little @ symbol, and then dirtnapcity.com.
You got it. Well, thanks, everybody. This has been another Dead End episode of Dirt Nap City. If you enjoy these, we'll be doing these every other week. Go back and check out our Photomat episode, which would have been 2 weeks ago, I suppose. And we will see you in the next one.
All right. Bye.